Hello! Welcome back to Easy Talk. We're so happy you're here, and honestly, we love that you chose this video today.
I'm Jack.
I'm Emma, and on this channel, we help you practice real, everyday English you can actually use. Today's topic might sound small, but it causes big problems. It's about things you should never say when talking about your workday.
These phrases don't sound wrong in grammar, but socially, they can quietly shut conversations down.
We've both heard them 1,000 times. And yes, we've probably used them ourselves before we knew better.
The goal isn't to sound perfect or impressive. It's to sound natural, comfortable, and easy to talk to.
If you've ever answered a work question and felt the conversation die, this is for you. Because one small change can completely shift the energy. Let's start with the most common answer learners give. I'm very busy at work.
On the surface, it sounds fine, but it's like putting a wall at the end of the sentence.
The other person doesn't know what to say next, so they usually respond with something short and move on.
Native speakers rarely stop there. They add one small detail to keep the door open. For example, I've been busy this week, but it's interesting. Or, work's busy lately, and I'm learning a lot.
That extra sentence invites curiosity. Now the other person has something to react to. Short answers feel safe, especially in a second language. But safe answers don't always help conversations grow.
You don't need a story. You just need one extra human detail. Another phrase that causes trouble is, I have too much work. It sounds normal, but the tone can feel heavy.
The listener suddenly feels tension. They're not sure if you're venting or asking for sympathy. Native speakers usually soften this idea. They frame it as temporary, not overwhelming.
You'll hear things like, it's a busy period, or this week is a lot. Those sound lighter and more controlled. Direct translation from another language causes this issue a lot. The words are correct, but the feeling changes.
Work talk is very sensitive in English. Tone matters more than vocabulary. A small adjustment makes you sound calm instead of stressed. And calm speakers are easier to talk to.
Another phrase that quietly ends conversations is, it's just work. People usually say it when they don't want to explain.
The problem is that it signals disinterest. The listener hears, let's not talk about this. Native speakers often soften it instead of cutting it off. They'll add something small to keep the mood open.
You might hear, it's just work, but it's been a little intense lately. Or, it's just work, nothing too exciting though. Those extra words change the feeling. Now the other person knows how to respond.
Conversations don't need details to survive. They just need permission to continue. Another answer that sounds harmless is, same as always, but it can come across as distant or bored.
Even if you don't mean it that way, tone matters. People read more emotion into short replies than you expect.
Native speakers usually adjust it slightly. They add a mood or a change.
For example, same as always, just busier. Or, same as always, but it went fast. Those versions feel more human.
Short answers protect you when you're tired. But they can also push people away without meaning to. One extra phrase keeps the connection alive. And connection is the whole point of small talk.
There's also a phrase that can sound defensive at work. That's not my job. Even when it's true, it feels sharp. It can make teamwork awkward fast.
Native speakers usually reframe it. They focus on helping, not refusing. You'll hear, that's handled by another team, or I can point you to the right person. The message stays the same, but the tone changes.
Work English is often about tone management. It's not what you say, it's how safe it sounds.
Soft language builds trust, and trust makes workdays much easier. Another phrase that can feel heavier than you expect is, I'm exhausted from work.
The listener suddenly feels the weight of your day. They may not know how to respond without sounding insensitive. Native speakers usually soften this feeling. They talk about the day, not their limits.
You'll hear things like, it's been a long day, or I'm pretty tired today. Those sound relatable instead of overwhelming.
Strong emotions aren't wrong. But casual conversations work better with lighter language. When the tone is balanced, people stay engaged, and engagement keeps conversations alive.
There's also a phrase that shares too much too fast. I really don't like my job.
It changes the mood instantly. The conversation suddenly feels serious. Native speakers often reframe this feeling. They talk about direction instead of dislike.
You might hear, it's not really my thing, or I'm looking for something new. Those sound thoughtful, not negative.
This keeps the conversation comfortable. You're sharing without putting pressure on the listener.
Choosing softer words doesn't hide the truth. It just presents it in a social way.
Another phrase learners use is, I'm under a lot of pressure at work. It sounds serious and sometimes too serious.
The listener may feel unsure how to react. Should they give advice or just nod politely? Native speakers usually make this lighter. They keep it situational.
You'll hear, this week's been intense, or there's a lot going on right now. Those feel temporary, not overwhelming. Temporary language feels safer in conversation. It signals that things are manageable.
And manageable problems invite conversation. Heavy problems often stop it.
Another phrase that sounds harmless is, I'm just trying to get through the day. People usually say it without thinking.
But the feeling it gives is heavier than expected. It sounds like the day is a struggle, not just busy. The listener often doesn't know how to react. Should they joke, comfort you, or change the subject?
Native speakers usually reframe this idea. They talk about progress instead of survival.
You'll hear things like, it's been a long day, but I'm almost done. Or, it's busy, but I'm managing.
Those versions still sound honest. They just feel lighter and more conversational.
Learners often think strong phrases show real emotion. But strong emotion can create distance in small talk.
Work conversations are usually about connection, not confession. People want something they can respond to easily.
Changing one phrase changes the whole tone. Suddenly, the conversation feels safe again.
And when conversations feel safe, people stay. That's when English starts to feel natural. Another phrase learners say without realizing the impact is, I'm not good at my job.
The listener suddenly feels uncomfortable. They don't know whether to disagree or encourage you.
Native speakers usually avoid labeling themselves like that. They talk about skills, not identity.
You'll hear, I'm still learning, or I'm getting better at it. Those phrases sound open and motivated. Work talk often shapes how people see you. Even casual comments can stick in their minds. Speaking kindly about yourself builds trust. People respond better to confidence than self-criticism.
Learners sometimes think humility sounds polite, but too much humility can sound like insecurity.
A small reframe protects your image, and it keeps the conversation comfortable.
You can be honest without being negative. That balance matters more than perfect grammar.
And once you stop attacking yourself with words, something shifts. Work talk becomes lighter and more constructive.
Which leads us to another phrase that sounds small, but it quietly sends the wrong message.
Another phrase that slips out easily is, I don't know what I'm doing. People usually say it as a joke.
But jokes don't always land the way we expect. This one can sound more serious than funny.
The listener may start doubting your confidence, even if you're actually doing fine.
Native speakers usually soften this idea. They separate uncertainty from incompetence.
You'll hear, I'm figuring it out, or I'm still learning this part. Those sound calm, not chaotic.
There's nothing wrong with not knowing everything. But how you say it matters.
Learners sometimes use humor to hide nervousness. That works in your first language, but not always in English.
Clear, simple confidence feels safer to listeners, even when you're unsure. Talking about learning shows growth. Talking about confusion can raise questions.
One small change protects your image, and it keeps the conversation positive.
This is especially important in professional settings because people remember how you talk about your work.
Another phrase people use very casually is, nothing special happened at work. It sounds harmless, but it quietly shuts the door.
The listener hears that there's nothing to respond to, so the conversation usually ends right there.
Native speakers rarely leave it that flat. They add a small detail, even if the day was normal.
You might hear, "Nothing special, just a lot of emails," or "Nothing special, but it went pretty fast." That one extra piece keeps things moving.
Learners often think interesting English needs interesting days, but that's not true at all.
Normal days are great conversation material. You just need one angle or feeling. Saying "nothing special" can sound distant. It can feel like you don't want to talk.
Adding a tiny comment changes the tone. Now it sounds relaxed instead of closed.
Conversations don't need excitement, they need participation.
And participation is often just one small sentence. That's all it takes.
Another phrase that causes problems is, "I'm always busy." It sounds normal, but it sends the wrong message.
The listener may hear distance instead of honesty. It can sound like you don't have time for people.
Native speakers usually avoid the word "always." It makes things feel permanent and closed.
You'll hear, "I've been busy lately," or "this week's been full." Those sound temporary and human.
Language that feels flexible keeps conversations open. Rigid language shuts them down.
Learners often use strong words to sound fluent, but strong words can accidentally push people away. Being busy isn't the problem. How you express it is.
A small shift in wording changes how approachable you sound, and approachability matters at work.
This is especially important with coworkers. They need to feel welcome, not blocked.
Soft language creates space, and space invites connection.
Another phrase that sounds honest but heavy is, "Work is very stressful." It can change the mood faster than you expect.
The listener suddenly feels tension. They're not sure whether to give advice or just nod.
Native speakers usually describe the situation, not the emotion. That keeps the conversation balanced.
You'll hear, "It's been a busy week," or "There's a lot going on right now." Those sound manageable.
Learners sometimes use emotional words to be clear, but clarity doesn't require intensity.
Softer phrasing invites conversation. Strong phrasing can stop it.
Work stress is common. Talking about it lightly makes it easier for everyone.
When you keep the tone calm, people respond calmly. That makes work talk less draining.
Small language choices shape big reactions, and that's easy to forget.
But once you notice it, you can't unhear it, and that awareness changes everything.
Another phrase that can sound worse than you intend is, "I'm just doing what I'm told." People often say it to avoid blame.
But the listener may hear a lack of ownership. It can sound defensive or disengaged.
Native speakers usually reframe responsibility. They show involvement without taking all the pressure.
You'll hear, "I'm following the plan," or "That's the current direction." Those sound professional and calm.
Learners sometimes use this phrase to stay safe, but safety language can still send the wrong signal.
So after all these examples, one thing should be clear. It's not that your English is bad.
Most of the time, it's just one phrase working against you. And the good news is, phrases are easy to change.
You don't need advanced vocabulary to sound natural. You just need softer, more open language.
Small changes create big differences, especially in everyday work conversations.
The goal isn't to hide how you feel. It's to express it in a way people can respond to.
When your words invite conversation, people stay engaged. And that's when English starts working for you.
If you remember one thing, remember this. Never close the door if you want the conversation to continue.
Leave space. Leave room for response.
Thank you for spending this time with us today. We really appreciate you learning with us.
And if this video helped you, keep practicing with Easy Talk, because simple English used well is powerful.